Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody?
We are now on air. Time for a total takeover.
It's finally here. Welcome to a new episode.
It's about to go down.
True indeed. Yes, it is. Hump Day, Wednesday, March 2nd, 2022. Good morning and God bless you. Yours truly, Dan Adams. And this is the Dan Adams Show. And got a lot to get into, so let's go ahead and, light the match, spark the flame, and all that good stuff. Well, last night, didn't watch it, but it was former Vice President Sleepy Joe Biden's first State of the Union address. Now, I am going to go about it in a different way today. I think during my lunch hour, I'm going to sit down and watch the coverage from Steven Crowder, because he did basically a live fact check show last night as he was watching the State of the Union address. So I'm going to watch that, and I'm going to get back to you on my thoughts on that, maybe later this evening, if not definitely on tomorrow's show. So that is what my take is on the State of the Union address. Didn't watch it, wasn't going to watch it, and I know many of you didn't as well. Let's go ahead and pivot to Russia, Ukraine. And right now things are heating up in certain port cities, I believe. I think a port city was taken over. Thousands have fled. I'm hearing more and more casualties amongst citizens. And it's not a good thing. It's not. Oh, go ahead. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing where I read across the wire that 13 children have been killed so far. Ukrainian children, maybe more. That's just the number that's being put out there right now. So I guarantee there's more than that. Don't know what the total citizen casualty count is. But read a lot of stuff yesterday in regards to Russia's military and what's going on with their military. And read something this morning in regards to someone posed a question: where is Russia's Air Force? And that is a very good question. Where is Russia's Air Force? And there have been reports in regards to the morale of the Russian military. There have been reports in regards to gas shortages, food shortages among the military. And I don't know if any of that's true. I mean, you gotta look at who's reporting this, where it's coming from, the angle, and this person almost just really did almost hit me here. But I just don't understand people. How you, unless something is happening to you, you shouldn't be drifting over into another lane. But anywho, unless you're trying to dodge a pothole or something. But anyway, sorry for the diversion. Let's get back to Russia, Ukraine, and their military, and the state of their military, and these reports of food and gas shortages and morale being low. Now, there's only so much you can do in regards to having a 40-plus mile long military convoy going into a city, coming in from many miles away. Now, I don't know how they're getting their equipment refueled. That's a good question. I'd like to know what that is. And we'll get to oil and gas in a minute in regards to America. But how are they refueling? Where is Russia's Air Force? And I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, there's something wrong with Putin. We know Putin as a tyrannical dictator and a murderer. We know this. Known it for years. Former KGB. But the things that he stated in his speech last week to his country in regards to why he's walking in, because he don't want to say he's invading and is at war with Ukraine. That's the craziest thing. Everyone on the planet knows he's invading and is at war with Ukraine. No, he's saying this is a peacekeeping mission to somehow take down the Nazi fascism that's going on in the Ukraine. And a lot of people who have studied and who have followed the path and acts of one Vladimir Putin say that something's wrong up here. Something's not right. And I'm starting to agree. Something's not right up there. Because, I'm sorry, any sane world leader would not go out and threaten the rest of the world with nuclear threats. As if it was just like, we're about to have a fist fight after school in the schoolyard. No, listen, he is threatening the world with nuclear war. That's not something that just push to the side and act like it's not something that could possibly happen, because it could. We don't know the predictability of this dude right now. And to me, there is something mentally wrong with Putin. That's just my take. I may be completely just utterly wrong on this, but that's how I see it. Now, we know this man has had eyes and aspirations of taking over the Ukraine for many years. And it's not just the Ukraine, okay? If he could, he would take over the entire European continent if he could. But strategically, there are many other areas besides the Ukraine that Putin wants to topple and take over. And the lengths that he's going to go to possibly make that a reality, none of us really know. None of us really have an indication or an indicator, a crystal ball, if you may want to go down that route. But the fact that the world has been put in this position is the world's fault, especially America. I'm sorry, this isn't a war that we're going to get into unless something happens on our soil. I'm sorry. Unless Russia somehow attacks us here, that is when our military should spin up its wheels and get the damn job done. But there are some strategic military maneuvers that can be done as far as aid from America for the Ukraine and its surrounding countries and those NATO factions who are supposed to, ladies and gentlemen, especially with all the money that we've been giving them, and I am going to applaud President Donald Trump, who called NATO out at the G Summit, don't know which one it was, and said, you're not paying your fair share. America is the lion's share of NATO in regards to funding. And guess what? Until you guys start paying your fair share, then guess what? The coffers are closed in regards to America giving you money. So I applaud President Trump for that. That was excellent. So what is NATO going to do? And I put up a post out on social media a couple days ago, an analogy, a comparison, and just my take on what's going on. But here you have, ladies and gentlemen, staunch, and I mean staunch, anti-war leftists here in America are all just freaking war hawks now for the Ukraine and taking out Putin. But yet, these same leftists here in America and leftists in Canada want to completely take away the livelihoods, take food out of the mouths of, and completely turn upside down the futures of truckers in Canada. Does that make sense to you? Does that make any lick of sense to you? Become a war hawk because of the Ukraine and defend their borders, but won't defend our own borders from the siege that is happening at our southern border. Does that make sense to you? Does that make a lick of sense to you? And now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what the ultimate outcome is going to be in regards to this invasion of Russia into the Ukraine. But the fact that as the homeboy was speaking last night and this morning, and I just saw through the Washington Times, that we have hit an all-time high in regards to our import of Russian oil and gas. That's right. I didn't stutter. Your ears weren't plugged up. Even if you had wax in them, you heard what I just said. We have reached an all-time high in regards to the importing of Russian oil and gas. So let me get this straight, ladies and gentlemen. The leftists in the Joe Biden administration wants to eliminate the fossil fuel industry here in America, but are begging OPEC, the UAE, Saudi Arabia already told us to pound sand without giving you any oil or gas. And we're importing, giving more money to Putin and Russia. But yet we're supposed to take down this big bad bully, but yet we're supplying him with money and funds. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you kidding me? America is a friggin' joke right now in regards to the world stage. You can say whatever the hell you want and tweet. Oh, I can't believe you said that. But guess what? America was brought back to prominence on the world stage in the 4 years of the Trump administration. People feared America. Do they fear America now? Hell to the no. Do they even have a freaking inkling of fear, or even have an inkling of distraught? Do they have an inkling, ladies and gentlemen, of any kind of bad juju? And I'm going deep in the vocabulary. Bad juju in regards to the strength of America. No one sees America as being strong anymore at this present time. We're a joke. And I'm pissed off that I'm even saying that. On the world stage, when the world looks at America, we are a joke. And it's all because of the current Biden administration and the leftist onslaught of dividing us here in America. Because once you divide a country along all these different lines, racial, economic, spiritual, everything that you can think of, to divide a country, the left is doing here in America. And as a conservative, all I want is for us Americans to come together and uphold its principles that it was founded on. How difficult is that? No, we want to make it about racial discrimination, racial this, racial that, ism this, is that. If you don't somehow jump on board with the smallest minority that the left supports, then you are the devil. If you don't somehow come on board with the downright demonization of Christianity, if you don't somehow come on board with allowing men to swim along with girls, and especially because this man couldn't compete with other men in his sport, decides to say, I'm a woman now, that we're going to allow that man to swim with girls. Or we're going to allow critical race theory, which it isn't critical race theory, okay? It is downright dividing America along racial lines. Allowing academia to demonize my fellow white brothers and sisters who have not espoused, do not have within their souls, do not have an inkling of racism or discrimination or bigotry in their bones. But you're going to go after them just because they have a certain skin tone and tell them that they're evil just because they have that skin tone? This is where we're at, ladies and gentlemen, in America. You have Ibram X. Kendi, whatever his name is, aka Henry Rogers, that's his real name, who's charging for Zoom calls $40,000 to $50,000, and more than that when he actually, shows up in person, telling white people that they're evil and that there will never be racial unity in America unless white America bows down at the starting to get a little set. Bow down at the feet of black America, and if you're black, no matter where you live in this wonderful world that we live in, unless, ladies and gentlemen, you somehow, what's the word I'm looking for? Denounce who you are, even though you had no stake in the matter. You had no stake whatsoever as to how you came out of your mother's womb and who your mother was and who your background is, what your background is. I had no say into the skin tone and my ethnicity. And I say it every time when I'm talking about racism. I believe God did this on purpose. He could have easily just made one race, and that's it. I think because of the superior mind that he has, he said, you know what? I'm going to see if my people who don't look like each other can get along, can live with amongst each other in harmony, can love one another, despite of how they look and where they came from and what their background is and what our history is. As evil at times as it's been. But it is 2022. It is not 1922. It is not 1952. It is not 1972. It is 2022. And as a black man living in America, whatever I want to become, if I put in the work, if I allow myself and put myself out there, calculate risks, and the like, I could become whatever the hell I want. And not one white person living in America or across the globe can stop me from doing what I want to do. Whatever obstacle that comes up, guess what? Do what you got to do to get around it, to complete what you're trying to complete. I'm sick and tired of this narrative, ladies and gentlemen. And I didn't want to go off on this tangent, but guess what? The show's almost up, and I want to end it with this. I'm talking to Black America right now. So white America, just for the next minute and a half, you can just shut your screen off, mute it, whatever. Black America, do you honestly believe in 2022 that white America and the white man is stopping you from being who you want to be? No. I believe you need to, number one, look in the mirror. That's the number one person that's stopping from you from being what you want to be and where you want to end up and what your life wants, what your life aspires to be, what you as an individual would like your life to be. But then you have within the black community, your community, individuals wanting to stop you from being the best person that you want to be just because it's something that we do in the hood. Really? It's because you don't want to be looked at as a sellout. Really? It's because you don't want to be called an Uncle Tom or a coon or all these other idiotic names that my fellow black brothers and sisters call me as a conservative, and even some of these woke white folk. It is time to end this madness. It is time to end it. If you want to become a doctor, if you want to become a lawyer, if you want to become whatever that you want to become, Black America, there is no one stopping you but you. Point blank, end of story. Now, as I end this particular episode of the Dan Adams Show, it is Wednesday. Get over that hump. Do what you got to do. But as I always stay. As I always say, I haven't had my coffee yet. Once again, as I always say, may God continue to bless you and yours. May he keep you and your family safe. Until next time, God bless. Peace.
Pointed with the president's misplaced priorities in his first State of the Union address, but that doesn't stop liberal pundits from gushing over Biden's performance. Watch this.
One of the things he said in that, Carly, Joy Reid saying he's a foreign policy president. Fundamentally, that's his skill set. Joe Biden was Joe Biden for most of this. David Axelrod saying, I thought it was energetic. I thought he was clearly passionate. Dana Bash saying that was genuine. Van Jones saying Uncle Joe is back. I'm proud tonight we have a leader like him. Let's go now to Joe Concha.
It sounded better when you said it than when they said it on TV.
Nice. But let's not let numbers, though, get in the way of a good story that I had to tell because we didn't have the tape. That happens in live TV. Did Biden address these issues enough in the CNN poll? 69% said Russia's invasion of Ukraine. He did. But listen to this, Joe. Look at this. 47% said he did not address enough on inflation. 46% said he did not address enough on violent crime. How bad is it for Biden that he couldn't even break 50% on the two main issues, inflation and crime, that will determine the midterms?
Yeah, guys, CNN, Biden's 41% very positive reaction from viewers is the lowest in 15 years that they've had in terms of very positive reactions. So, look, I think all the pundits you just named, it's as predictable as the sun coming up in the east and birds flying south for the winter as far as them praising the president's speech. And if you notice, the common thread is based on emotion, that Biden had great energy, that Uncle Joe is back. But where's the substance, right? People want to hear substance. They want to know how the commander-in-chief is going to solve the problems facing them on inflation, on crime, on the border, on education, and obviously what's going on in Ukraine and Russia and what happened, obviously, with Afghanistan from a foreign policy perspective. So I think the pundit that I'll listen to on this, because she is extremely measured, and she even said she wanted to be generous, was Dana Perino, who said right after that speech that the address was uninspiring because there was no pivot, there was no change in terms of policy or approach. It's as if they took a speech that they had written for months and months and then just copy and pasted something that they wanted to include about Ukraine and praising the Ukrainian people for fighting so bravely, as they should have, and condemning Putin as the president should have, but then went right back to the same failed talking points that they've been talking about now for the past 6 months around Build Back Better and voting rights and all the list of things that they want to do in terms of spending more money to solve problems. And that's why this speech will be forgotten by the time we're speaking tomorrow at this time, guys.
Dana's key line, their view of accomplishments are actually vulnerabilities. Key line from Perino. Carly.
Well, after the president finished speaking, there were 3 rebuttals. One from the Republican Party, Kim Reynolds. That always happens. The opposing party always gives a response. Then 2 Democratic rebuttals. Rashida Tlaib did one for the Working Families Party, Progressive Party, and then Congressman Colin Allred spoke for the Congressional Black Caucus. And I just have to imagine, if you're a member of the Biden administration, you must be furious.
Yeah, Carly. I mean, look at the scoreboard right now. Democratic responses to a Democratic president's State of the Union beat the Republican response, the opposing party, 2-1. Right? So, yeah, that certainly muddies the waters a little bit and shows you how little support he has within his own party. And it's why so many Democrats now, a majority of Democrats, don't want Joe Biden to run for re-election in 2024. So So, look, yeah, that had to be disappointing for the president, Carly, no question.
That is not a unified party there, Democratic side. Joe Concha, we're unified with you.
Yes.
We're Concha fans.
We're
Have
in
a
the
great
Concha
day.
party.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Joe.
Todd.
We got to go, Joe.
Todd, you're like Rain Man, by the way, with the whole, like, you remember what everybody said. You're quoting Perino. You filled in the sound on tape that you didn't have before. I mean, let's go to Vegas sometime. Let's count some cards.
And I am an excellent driver. And
Joe,
I have to
thank
watch
you.
Wapner.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
So at exactly the moment when you need more information, not less lying, not more, Big Tech has aligned with intel agencies to curate everything you learn about the war being fought in your name in Ukraine and censor anyone who disagrees with them. And the censorship is increasing. Senator Mark Warner has called on his donors in the tech monopolies to censor pro-Russia social media posts. And they oblige, including by Americans, by the way. And they get to decide what pro-Russia is. Meanwhile, the television network Russia Today, which is Russia's state media, is being censored all over the world. It's not an endorsement of Russia Today to note. It might be interesting to know what the other side is saying. It might be good to have more information, not less. Glenn Greenwald has been making this point for a long time. He's an independent journalist. We're happy to have him join us tonight. Glenn, thanks so much for coming on. The censorship seems very open, without apology, and it seems more widespread than maybe I've ever seen it.
Definitely without any precedent that I can remember as well. I mean, you'll probably recall in the days after 9/11, Bill Maher, when he was at ABC, was fired because he said that he doesn't think the 9/11 hijackers should be regarded as cowards, that whatever else you want to say about them, it's evil, but it takes courage to fly a plane into a building and end your life for a cause. And there was a lot of sense, even when we were attacked in the immediate aftermath, that maybe it's not a good idea for people to just be fired because it'll create this atmosphere where no one can speak. It's so much worse. I think one of the things that's gotten overlooked when we talk about big tech is how closely aligned they are to the U.S. security state. They have huge contracts with the Pentagon, the CIA, for cloud services, for all kinds of other services. And so often their censorship is purely aligned with U.S. foreign policy in a way I think is quite odious.
There used to be, and you grew up in the United States, as I did, we're roughly the same age. There was this sense when we were kids that we're Americans. We can read whatever we want. They had banned books week at libraries where librarians fought back against censorship, which didn't really exist when we were kids. What about that idea that as an American citizen, you have a right to read whatever the hell you want, back off? Where is that?
Yeah, so just for the record, I'm significantly younger than you, but I accept that we're in the same general generational grouping. But I wonder that because, you know, one of the first articles I ever wrote after I got into journalism was when the British historian David Irving was criminally convicted in Austria for teaching things about the Holocaust that were prohibited, namely denialism. And I wrote an article about how all Americans instinctively recoil from that because we just have embedded within us the view that government shouldn't be dictating what we can and can't hear and what we can and can't say. 15 years later, Tucker, there's very little of that ethos, certainly not as a consensus. And I'm so grateful for the First Amendment because without it, I'm certain that we would have all kinds of laws being enacted, empowering the state not just to ban ideas, but to criminalize them as well.
Well, you'd be in prison like you would. You'd be in. I mean, we'd be bringing you, extra underarm deodorant.
Yeah.
Right. Without the First Amendment, but it seems like they're getting around it by just employing effectively their agents in the tech monopolies to crush free speech.
One of the things that I think has been very undernoticed is that for the past 18 months, with the Democrats, with their control in both houses of Congress, have repeatedly summoned tech executives to Congress and explicitly said to them, if you don't start censoring more the way we're telling you to, you will suffer legal and regulatory reprisals. And there's Supreme Court rulings that say that, of course, the First Amendment bans the government from directly censoring, but it also bans the government from pressuring or coercing private actors to censor on their behalf in the way the Constitution prohibits. And that's exactly what's been happening and still is happening ever more so with this war.
It's horrifying. And you have been one of the voices fighting back against it, and we're grateful for that. Glenn Greenwald, appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
Putin may circle Kyiv with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people. Preventing Russia's central bank from defending the Russian ruble. And a pound of Ukrainian people, the proud, proud people, pound for pound. It's time to see what used to be called the Rust Belt become the home of a significant resurgence of manufacturing. Increasing the productive capacity of our economy. I call it building a better America. There's simply nothing beyond our capacity. Thank you. Go get him.